Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is another one of those fabulous Food for Life PCRM cooking constructors. What is a constructor? No, instructors. It's Monday, guys. Cut me a break. I can't speak. PCRM Food for Life cooking instructor, and she is actually going to construct an amazing recipe. It's a lentil loaf, plant-based, of course. It's called Appleby. We're going to find out what the special name is all about. And her name is Granetta Coleman. Please welcome her to the show. It's very nice to meet you.
Hi, it's great to meet you, Chef AJ, and thank you for having me on the show.
It is my pleasure. Now, I don't know how long your recipe takes and if you want to jump right into it or if you can I cannot speak today, talk and cook at the same time, or you let me know because I do have a few questions for you.
Absolutely. I think I'll start the recipe and I can talk and cook. I do it all the time. So Appleby Court meatloaf is actually a veganized version of a meatloaf I used to cook when I was a kid.
That's neat. Yeah, absolutely. And I watched a couple of your YouTubes. You made some very delicious recipes. I saw you make a bolognese lentil pasta sauce. And what I learned is you've been vegan about 10 years now, but you dabbled in vegetarianism before that. Is that correct?
That's right. It took me three chances to get to vegan. So it was not a straight shot.
But that's okay. You know, they say like when people are trying to quit smoking, it takes 7 times. We don't care if people fall off. We just care when they get back on.
That's right. That's right.
And
so I'm going to chop up this onion. I'm going to turn on my stovetop, get that ready. And I do cook oil-free, so that means my pan is empty. There's nothing in it, and I will let you see it in a minute. So the recipe calls for about a cup of onion, which is about an onion. Depending on the size, I wanted to put in the measurement. So you knew if you got a giant onion, you only need a cup of onion. So one of the things I do is I keep a little scrap bowl when I cook, and that allows me to just get rid of the, excess really easily. It took me a few years to figure that out. And I was like, oh, this is going to make it a lot easier.
When did you become a PCRM cooking instructor?
I became a PCRM cooking instructor in 2017.
Nice. How did you hear about it?
I actually had a family member. When I decided to go vegan, there was members of my family who also wanted to go vegan. And two of them were doctors. And one of them decided to become a PCRM cooking instructor herself. And so through her doing it, I found out about it.
Nice. In one of the videos you mentioned you have a brother, I believe a younger brother, who actually went vegan maybe 10 or 20 years before you.
Yes, he did. He's been a vegan now for over 20 years. And so he was at the forefront, even though he's my younger brother and he's still a vegan. And he decided to do it because he started learning about how the meat industry was so kind of gross. That's the way he put it.
Well, good for him. I bet he's very healthy.
Oh, he's super fit.
Nice. Well, maybe he can come on the show and show off a bit. Lauren's saying, can you talk about like your transition? Because it sounds like you had a couple of fits and starts and dabbled first with vegetarianism, and then eventually on the third try went full on vegan.
Absolutely. So in 1998, I was an attorney and I had put on about 30 pounds over what I wanted. And I was also on my first blood pressure medication. And I heard that a vegetarian diet could help with blood pressure and with weight. So I said, okay, I'm going to try a vegetarian diet. So I just chopped up a green pepper and now I'm going to get some garlic cloves ready. So I decided to try a vegetarian diet, but I knew nothing about it. So I said, I'm going to go for a whole week. I made it 5 days. And I think all I ate was pasta. I didn't eat any beans and I just really wasn't educated. And so I look back on that now and think about, wow, all the things I didn't know. And so after that, maybe 3 or 4 years later, I tried it again. I read a couple books, and I was successfully a vegetarian until I got pregnant. And one morning I woke up and I was so hungry when I was pregnant. I just said, I can't do it. And so I, went back to my old standard American diet. I had my daughter, healthy, happy. And when she was about 3 years old, I was overweight again, even more so because of the pregnancy. I was on much more blood pressure medication. And I decided to go vegan after a very funny Thanksgiving story. So I was at family's for Thanksgiving, and we had left the turkey on the counter and went into, the dining room to say grace. And while we were saying grace, the dog got into the turkey, pulled it off the countertop. And I said, that's it. It's a sign.
To say that dog was trying to save you.
He was.
Showing you that that's not your food, that's his food.
Exactly. And in that moment, I actually, on that trip in Chicago, I told a family member I wanted to go vegetarian again. And he had just read the China study, and he said, you should go vegan. And I got a book on vegan cooking, and that was it.
Do you remember the book?
I do. It's called Vegan Bee in the Kitsch, and the B rhymes with kitsch.
Something that a lot of people call me. Yes, I know that word very well. Well, it sounds like you have a lot of smart people in your family.
Apparently I do.
That's neat. That is so cool. So you have, what is the Rooted Dish? That is your company. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I formed the Rooted Dish so that I could teach my PCRM Food for Life classes, and so that I could expand people's knowledge about health and wellness. So in addition to being a Food for Life instructor, now I'm also a health coach. So I work with people in groups and one-on-one.
Nice. I know you have a free webinar coming up on July 1st. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes, which I'm working on right now as you cook.
Great. So I'm adding some egg replacer, and you put about a tablespoon of that into a big bowl with 2 tablespoons of water. And there's different kinds of egg replacers. So just read the instructions on it to see, what you need to replace 1 egg. And this is basically like a binding agent. So I'm going to put that in here. Just stir it up so it's ready to go. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to pull my hot plate forward so you can see me saute these vegetables that I just cooked up. All right, so as you can see, there's no oil in there, and I'm just going to drop the onions in. And then if they start to stick, I put in a little bit of water. So instead of a squeezy bottle of oil, I have a squeezy bottle of water. And that just makes it a lot easier to have the water where you need it. So we're just going to let these saute for about 3 or 4 minutes. And then I'm going to add the green peppers.
A question about the tool you're using from Argelia, the garlic tool, if you could talk about what that is.
Oh, yes. So, of course, you can cut garlic with a knife, but I show this to all of my Food for Life attendees, and it's called a Joseph garlic rocker. And I recommend the metal one because it won't break. They have a plastic metal version, but I feel like that may break in a couple of years. I've had this for many, many years. And you just put it over top of the garlic clove and you just rock it, and it minces the garlic. And then it's so easy to clean because all you do is let the water run down through it and the scraps on the back just fall off. So instead of that old garlic press, where it was so hard to dig the garlic out, you may as well cut it.
Yeah, those things are impossible to clean.
Yes. So I love the Joseph.
Where do you get them? On Amazon or?
It is on Amazon. We have some place called Bed Bath & Beyond here. So that's another source, but it is on Amazon.
I love Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, they're closing some here, so I'm a little sad about that.
Oh no, I hope they don't completely close like so many stores are.
Me too. All right, my onion is getting translucent, so now I'm going to add my green pepper. And while this is going on, I'm going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. And I love this loaf because you can have it the first day as a lentil loaf, and then you can have it the next day for sandwiches. You can just slice it up, heat it up, and put it on, you know, if you're having a sandwich.
Does it freeze well once it's cooked?
It doesn't hang around that long in my house. I'm sure it would freeze well though. But I would slice it up before you froze it to make sure, you know, you could have an individual portion.
So I don't know how current the video I watched with you is, but if I remember correctly, your daughter and husband are vegetarian.
That's right. That's right. So when I transitioned to a vegan diet, my daughter was only 3. So she basically did what mommy did. But then as she got older and got around her friends and wanted to, you know, be like everybody else, she has started to eat more cheese. But then when she became a teenager and started to realize that cheese impacts your skin so much and you start to, you know, it increases your acne, she decided to cut it way, way back. So I'm really glad about that. And
Great.
then my husband, and then my husband, we were on a trip where he had some bad seafood. And that basically kind of like, he was like, that's it. I'm not going to eat any more meat. And he was very strict for a few years. And now he eats a little bit of fish, but is overall way healthier than he had been in the past. So that's wonderful.
Nice. It seems like the universe keeps trying to give your family signs.
It does. It does. And I like just leading by example. You know, I'm always here to guide them and cook great food for them. So it's very easy in my house to make this choice.
Nice. And most people are too lazy to really go and prepare their own food. That's great.
Yeah. So as I said, I used to cook this meatloaf as a meatloaf when I was young on Appleby Court in Maryland. And I just thought it would be fun to veganize this recipe because you don't have to give up the old taste that you used to have to be a vegan. I want people to know they can, you know, still enjoy their family traditions and just change them a little bit.
What are your family's favorite recipes that you make for them?
Let's see, my family's favorite recipes. I would say my tofu nuggets. My daughter loves those. They are breaded in nutritional yeast and spike and thyme. My husband likes chili and he likes my black-eyed pea soup. He said I could make my black-eyed pea and collard green soup every week. And he would be like, I'm going to eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that recipe is actually on my website, Rooted Dish. So you can check it out. All right, so these vegetables look good. So now what I'm gonna do is turn off this burner. And I've got my egg replacer here. It's thickened up, as you can see. That's exactly what I want it to do. Now I'm gonna add a cup of rice, brown rice that I previously cooked. And I really like this recipe because it gives you the opportunity, if you have some leftover brown rice from a batch cook that you did, you can use it in this recipe. And then I have 2 cups of beluga lentils. And these lentils are the dark black lentils. And it's 2 cups cooked, which is like 1 cup dry about. So I pre-cooked these. I did these in the Instant Pot. But you can do them on the stovetop. The instructions will be in the notes. on how to do it both ways. Then I'm going to add I'm going to add a little bit of rolled oats. So these are just rolled oats that I'm going to put in 3/4 of a cup. Next, I'm going to just put in those sauteed vegetables.
Are there people still living in Appleby Court that have tasted this recipe?
They are not. Actually, we lived there for 50 years, and my mother sold it a few years ago. So there's a new family, a new young family with young kids there, starting their own, journey. So no, this never made it in Appleby Court. So now I'm using a little bit of ketchup. Sometimes I go down the rabbit hole and make my own ketchup, and sometimes I just use, commercially available ketchup. A teaspoon of curry powder. Now, this was not in the original recipe. It was just black pepper and salt. And now I'm using a little bit of Jamaican curry powder. I think our palates were a little less refined back then, so we didn't want anything too spicy. So I'm throwing in that curry powder now. So we like it spicy now. And then I'm adding in a teaspoon of oregano. And that's it. Now I'm going to stir it all together.
Where do you get the Jamaican curry powder?
Actually, the traditional grocery stores here sell it just in the spice aisle. I don't know if it's because there's more of a international crowd around here, but just in our regular grocery store, they sell it. All right, I've got it well blended. Now I'm going to prepare my pan, and instead of putting oil in the pan, I'm actually going to use one of my favorite parchment paper, just unbleached parchment paper. And I'm going to get a big enough piece so that when I pour the mixture in, it's just going to sit in the paper. So just put that in. Adjust it a little.
Have you ever used one of those? I have a silicone meatloaf or veggie loaf pan.
No, I should get one. That would just, you don't have to do anything to that.
Right.
Since I still have these, I have 2 Pyrex pans. I feel bad. Like, I guess I could donate them. So now you just want to press it down well so that it's going to be firm when it cooks up. So I've really got that pressed in. Got it pressed in. Trying to get it to all the way down in the pan. I want to have a nice shape. Now, when I used to make this, I would put a glaze on it, the traditional ketchup, brown sugar glaze. I just skip that part now because I try to, not use sugar unnecessarily. So I would slip that into the oven for an hour, let it firm up. If your oven is a little bit different, you can put a knife into it just to make sure that the knife comes out clean, it's done. And this is one I made earlier, and I just flipped it out of the pan. So when you flip it, you put the plate on top of the pan, and then you flip it over. And then I just pull the parchment off, and voila.
Oh my God, that looks like a real meatloaf.
Beautiful, firm, yeah. So totally doable. And this is, this will be meals for several days. So that's great.
That looks fantastic. Do you have a cookbook?
I do not have a cookbook yet. It's a lot of time. I've actually decided to shift, more to the health coaching so that I find that, there's plenty of great recipes out there. What people really need is support and accountability in making this kind of change. So I've kind of shifted from, really focusing on the mechanics of the cooking to the mechanics of how to make healthy living a habit.
Right. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Did you want me to screen share for you? You were going to shoot, I think you have some slides you wanted to show.
I thought that you guys were going to show them.
Oh, I think I can. I can figure that out. I think I can. So just talk about something. I did not know that, but I think I can figure it out. So give me a moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You guys is just me, by the way. So I get you. Let me find that. I do remember you showing that, but
no problem.
If you have any more funny stories like the dog taking the turkey.
Let's see. Do I have any more funny stories? Oh my gosh. Well, I will tell you that, the journey, you can start anywhere and change your health. When we were kids, my mom was from Texas and my dad was from St. Louis. And so it was like meat all day, all the time. I never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich until I was in college. And I changed. Lots of people say, oh, I could never give up, X. But I'm proof that you can definitely always change. So that's great. And my younger brother has a story where he said he has a friend who used to come to our house to look in our refrigerator because he'd never seen so much meat.
Wow. You know what?
Crazy.
I think it's so funny. You said you gained 30 pounds as an attorney. Maybe, do they call that the attorney 30?
I don't think it had a cute name back then.
I think I'm going to be able to do this. So give me a second. I was able to pull it up.
Great.
So I'm not the most proficient. You would think doing this every day, I'd be a little better, but let's see. Can you see your slides now?
I can.
Okay, then that means that I think I did this correctly. Let me just try to change the presentation mode. Okay, so you'll just have to tell me when to advance the slides, okay?
Absolutely. So these slides are just showing you my journey. And this is me as a toddler on Appleby Court. I was eating the standard American diet and, my parents, they were doing what they thought was the best at the time. So healthy, happy kid. You can advance.
Adorable. What were you there, about 3 or 4?
I was probably about 3.
Cute.
Yep. And you can advance the slide. I could tell you about, when I was 11, I started competing as a gymnast. I found my love. That was my passion. And so this is me in high school competing. I competed at the state and regional level, and I am jumping about probably like 5 or 6 feet over a balance beam in this picture.
That's incredible. Are you still that limber today?
Not that limber. At 52, I can still turn a cartwheel.
Nice.
Yeah. So, at this point, even though I was, not eating a great diet, lots of sugar, lots of meat and dairy, it allowed me to compete at this high level and be successful. And then you can go on. Life goes on. I became a patent attorney, and this is me weighing the most I ever had in my life. You're in a sedentary job, eating a lot of takeout, working long hours, not sleeping well. And that was the first time that I decided, I needed to make a diet change. And so that was my ill-fated 5-day vegetarian experiment.
It's funny, your shirt says race for the cure, but now you're teaching people instead to eat for the cure.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right. You're absolutely right. And you can flip the slide. So this is me as a mom, actually heavier than I was, as an attorney. My daughter at about 3 years old, this is when I made the switch. And I decided, I became a mother at 39, which, is a little long in the tooth to me. And so when I started doing some calculations, I thought to myself, I need to do whatever I can to live as long as I can so I can see all of these amazing moments in my daughter's life and be there for her. my grandmother passed away when my mom was about 11. And that kind of looms pretty large in our family, that she and many of our other ancestors actually died, what I consider young now, before 70. And even, my grandmother died at 39. So it's always been kind of at the forefront of all of our minds that, there's no guarantees. So this is when I said, I'm going to eat to live. And then you can show the next slide. This is me, plant-based, holding my daughter up on the beach, feeling amazing. One of the things that I think really encourages people to stick with this plan of eating is that you feel so good. You have so much energy. You're just down for whatever. So I had been plant-based for probably 5 or 6 years when this photograph was taken. And I never really looked back.
That's beautiful. I love your shirts. Purple. Oh, look at you here. Wow.
And this is me. I love to hula hoop. I became a hooping instructor shortly after when my daughter was about three, when I became vegan. And I consider myself a really big kid now. I love movement, and I love finding different ways to move that are fun. So hula hooping is something that people, if you're driving around DC and you see some lady in the park doing crazy things with the hula hoop, that's me. I went roller skating last week with my daughter. I'm excited that even as an older mom, I can do all the fun things.
That's great. Next slide.
I think that's the end.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me stop share because there we go. All right, right back at you. Let me see.
Yeah.
Pull up. Oh, whoa. How do I get this? There we go. All right. Great. I'm going to go back to the chat to see if anybody has any questions or anything. Gina says she has such a beautiful smile. Because I can't look at the chat while I'm doing the slides because it takes up the same thing. Maybe, one of the questions I'd love to ask, well, it's not even me. They ask every day, my wonderful Zoomunity in the chat. People love to know what everyone eats like in a day. Can you talk about that? And then I'll search the chat to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically my husband likes to have a green smoothie, fruit and veg smoothie. So I'll make that. I'll have a little bit of it so I can have some like flax seeds and chia seeds in that smoothie. So I'll have a small green smoothie, and usually I'm team oatmeal. So I will just have oatmeal with whatever fruit I have around, apples, a little bit of banana, maybe some strawberries. That's my breakfast. And then usually for lunch, I will have whatever's left over, which is usually some brown rice or quinoa with some kind of legume, like a chili, or I like tofu. And then I'll have some vegetable with it. Sometimes it's a big salad. I like to buy the bags of coleslaw and just sprinkle, some vinegar on top of that, eat that. Or broccoli, any usually cruciferous vegetable, a kale salad with lunch. And then for dinner, it depends on the mood of the family. Sometimes I'll make baked falafel, and we'll have like big falafel salad bowls. We'll have something like the lentil loaf with 2 side vegetables. So I'll usually have something starchy with it, like vegan mashed potatoes, and then I'll pair that with something non-starchy, like some green beans. So it's usually a combination of those types of foods. I could eat beans all day and all night, and I actually have to I think I have to reel myself in because I love them so much and focus more on the non-starchy vegetables. That's like my kind of tricky balancing out. I love beans.
Wow, that's neat. Lauren says, were you immediately whole food plant-based when you went vegan, or did you go through a junk food vegan phase?
That is a great question. And I did go through a junk food vegan phase. Back when I became a vegan, I think Trader Joe's might have come into Washington, D.C. about that time. And they have a lot of, even back then, even in 2011, there was quite a bit of junk food, vegan products. So I got sucked into that trend, and then slowly had to extricate myself from it. And I find that now it's actually, I think it's hard for people because there's so many processed vegan options that I think it lures people in that direction even harder. And then you have to work your way out of that and come back to just whole food, plant-based, which is what my Reset Cleanse is all about.
Nice. Lauren says, where are you located?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Do you ever go visit Dr. Barnard? You're close to PCRM. And you could go to the doctor there, like to Dr. Loomis.
Yes. I go to their practice, and I love that because, as many people have noted, they have fruit in the waiting room. So if you have like an early morning appointment, you can't get breakfast, you know that after your appointment, you can grab a banana and be good to go, or an apple. It's fantastic.
Instead of a lollipop.
Yes. Yeah. So I often go over there. I go there for my, medical appointments, but I also go there for different events and things. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Lauren says, I love that you lead by example and don't chastise your daughter. And somebody says, Joseph website is a cornucopia of kitchen gadget heaven. Wow, I had no idea. Maybe I could have them on the show. I did not even realize that. Are they a store or just a website?
I see most of their products in Whole Foods, so I would imagine they just like drop ship things to different places.
Catherine says, do you still practice law?
I gave it up. Well, it's been, time ticks on and you don't realize it, but I gave it up maybe about 5 years ago. My husband and I, we actually opened a massage therapy practice in like early 2000. We did that for, he did it for 10 years. I did it for 5 years. So I was working part-time as an attorney then. And then when my daughter started to get a little older and someone needed to be there to pick her up from school and do all that stuff, it got to be a lot to be a part-time attorney and, the primary caregiver. So my husband and I talked about it, and he decided to keep a full-time job, and I decided to leave the law. So I left the law and, did that really intense caregiving for those years, and I never went back.
If I was going to be an attorney, I'd want to be an animal rights attorney. That's what I know.
Nice.
But I don't want to be an attorney because it's too much.
Yep.
Too much arguing and too much. Angela says, Granetta is stunning, gorgeous, glow. And here's a comment, such a small world. I have a close friend who lives on that same street in Maryland. Well, maybe you'll tell them about the Appleby Lentil Loaf. So Eileen says, what kind of ketchup? I have problems finding ketchups without the SOS ingredients. Dylan Holmes makes a ketchup completely SOS free. Well, your world by the way. So what kind of ketchup did you use? And Sarah says, would tomato paste sub out the ketchup?
I think you could sub out the tomato paste with the ketchup. I actually had a big bottle of Heinz today. During the pandemic, we just kind of it was just kind of get what you can and keep on moving. But before that, I used to make my own ketchup. And sometimes I still do that because it's very easy actually to make ketchup. And then you can customize your ingredients and know exactly what's in it. So as I was getting out this giant bottle of Heinz, I was like, it's time to make my own ketchup again.
Yeah, it's not too hard.
No, it's not.
Here's a question from Lauren. Does she have a health coach certificate? I wonder how she got started in coaching.
So yes, so when the pandemic started for us in March, all of my live cooking classes obviously shut down. And I was, sitting here not knowing when things would, come back. So I started looking around for things to do. And my husband actually suggested, you should be a health coach. And I was like, maybe I should be a health coach. So I ended up going through the Health Coach Institute's Become a Health Coach program. And I completed that. You have 6 months to a year to complete that. And so I finished that during the pandemic and got my certification in February. And I feel like it's kind of what I had been looking for my whole life, but didn't know it because I'd always done different things in the health and wellness arena. I've been a group exercise instructor, a massage therapist. I'm a certified yoga instructor. This food for life. I mean, it's kind of a culmination of so many different parts of me. So I'd say go for it.
Great. Do you still teach yoga or exercise yourself?
No, actually, as soon as I got my certification, I went back to practicing law. So I just, got the information and never taught formally.
Nice. Let's see if there's any other questions. Do you still exercise yourself?
Oh, yeah. Movement is an integral part of my life. Every day I try to get 30 minutes of some kind of movement. Since the pandemic, my husband and I do go on usually daily walks. So that usually satisfies the 30 minutes, but then I like to throw in a little more high intensity and either go for a little jog walk, or I love biking. I love hula hooping. We go swimming on occasion. I don't swim laps, but I'll splash around. I'm up for any kind of movement.
Nice. That's amazing. You can hula hoop. I've never been able to do that.
If we get together, I will bring a hoop and I will teach you because I was a hooping instructor as well.
That's incredible. So you have your, as they say, your fingers in a lot of pies.
I have.
What's your favorite?
What is my favorite? I actually, I never really liked running as a kid. In gymnastics, you would sprint down the vault run. And so I always considered myself a sprinter. And when that presidential physical fitness came around, I would usually half walk, half jog the mile. But now I actually understand the runner's high. And if I go a long stretch without running, I'm like, I got to get out there. I'm not fast, but I just, move my little feet along and listen to my music, and I really enjoy it.
Nice. Apple says, I love how she explored a lot of different vocations. I can relate. And Dina asks, have you had a chance to review the PCRM online course, Food for Life course? But I would imagine you did. You're an instructor with them.
So I haven't looked at their new format, which is online. I got to do it in person. And because I'm in Washington, D.C., that was like, oh, extra bonus. I didn't have to go anywhere. So no, I haven't looked at how they've transitioned it to an online course.
Right. Monarch says, I love how Granetta made her family her priority over law. Do you want, Kathleen says, do you have any pets?
Yes, I do. I have a bearded dragon.
You're kidding. That's interesting.
No.
What is his or her name?
His name is Zippy, and his body is about this long, his body's about as long as this loaf. And then he has a tail about the same length. And the reason why we got this lizard is because I'm allergic to cats and dogs. So he's like a concession pet.
Does he roam around? Does he live in like a terrarium, or how does that work?
Yes, he has a terrarium. He's just graduated from his 40-gallon tank to about a 120-gallon tank because he's now an adult. So he has a huge, fancy apartment up in my office. I'll take a picture of him and put him on my Instagram at Rooted Dish, and you can take a look at him. But he's big, he's beautiful, he's orange. They are desert animals. He's from Australia. And we've had him since he was 3 months old. He's about 3 years old now, and he's going to live for probably 7 to 10 more years.
Wow, that is so interesting. So he's a reptile, right?
He's a reptile, yeah.
That is fascinating. You need to make videos with him. What does he eat?
So my lizard is not a vegetarian.
And you haven't been able to coach him? My goodness.
I know. I keep thinking, my daughter said, are you going to try and make him a vegan? I said, I might talk to his doctor about that because some dogs are vegan.
Right.
So he eats live crickets. So they are our secondary pet, our crickets. And he eats everything that we eat. So like a teeny portion of his diet is crickets for the protein and the fat. And then the rest of it is supposed to be leafy vegetables and fruit. So we always have like a ton of kale and different greens for him and, different fruit that is acceptable in his diet. So it's kind of funny that he's a part of the family. He's like almost there.
Yeah, he's like the rest of your family. It's like, a little bit. Okay, that's interesting. Yep. I'd love to know what he looks like, but he's upstairs. Do you play with him? Do you interact? How does it work with a reptile?
Yeah, actually, you have to socialize them when they're young or they won't want to be held. So we held him a lot when he was young, and you can hold him. He'll climb up your body and sit on your shoulder. He'll roam around the house. We have very slick floors. So he kind of like tries to walk, but he slides a lot. So it's pretty funny. And we have a little purple leash that we put on him, and we take him out into the yard for a little sun time if it's hot enough. He's cold-blooded, so it has to be warm enough for him to be, happy. So when it's like 80, 90 degrees, he goes out for a little, field trip to the yard. But you have to watch him because we have a lot of birds of prey. So we don't want him to end up getting snatched.
Well, he'd love it where I live. It's been about 117, 118 all week. I think he'd love it out here.
Oh, he would. He would just sun himself all day.
Yeah. So tell us about the webinar you have. I noticed you have a free webinar on July 1st. I did put the link in the show notes. So guys, if you can't see it, please refresh your page. And if you're on Facebook, you'll have to go to YouTube to see the show notes.
Great. So this Thursday, I have a webinar called The Benefits of Cleansing. So about once a quarter, I run a reset cleanse, and it's a whole food plant-based cleanse. And this webinar will tell you all about, how this cleanse is run, like what foods are in, whole food plant-based, what foods are out, animal products, sugar is out, chocolate is out, caffeine and alcohol are out. So, and then it tells you all of the potential benefits you could get from this cleanse. Some of my clients who've gone through the cleanse have had benefits like more energy, starting to lose weight, feeling clearer in their mind, and really establishing a connection with their body. Because once you realize how things make you feel, it makes you consider making a change. So I will talk all about that in this webinar on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And
well,
then
I signed up for it. It sounds great. And it's free.
Yes, it's free. And my cleanse will start on July 12th. So if the benefits of cleansing sounds like something that you want and you don't want to do it alone, I will have a group starting on July 12th.
Nice. And I noticed you have a PCRM class, but this one it said for men. So do you have to be a man to register?
You do not have to be a man to register. If you like men and you want to pass the information along, I would say register for the course. It is not restrictive. But I'm really excited because a lot of my Food for Life classes are predominantly women. And so I wanted to put something out there so they could feel like, it's for them. So I, put together the materials from Food for Life for men to talk about, heart health, diabetes, weight management. I'm sure some people will ask about, athletic performance. So I can talk about that in the class as well. I'm going to be demonstrating some delicious, easy recipes. And I'm excited that I have, a group of men who, want to get healthy. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
I was thinking maybe some of the if they're single men, maybe some of the ladies already. I don't know. Do you do it on Zoom? Does everybody see each other? How does that work?
Yes, it is still on Zoom. Everybody can see each other. And, who knows, will there be a love connection on my,
I mean, that might be a reason for somebody to register. We got a lot of single ladies watching. We try to hook them up when we can. So Lauren says, well, what is cleansing?
So cleansing is essentially, changing your diet in a way that is clean. So for many people, they eat excessive processed food. So if you can get that processed food out of your diet, that would be a cleaner diet. So that would be part of the cleanse. And cleansing is not the same as fasting. So you get to eat on a cleanse. You're not excluding food and just drinking drinks. So it's just a way to eat that is cleaner. And different people can define, what that would look like. And for me, it's whole food, plant-based, and eliminating some other things that are problematic.
Right. Do most of the people seek your services for weight loss, for disease prevention, disease reversal, just maybe trying to go plant-based? Where do you like to work with people?
Primarily, most of my clients now are coming to me for weight loss. And that could have something to do with the pandemic and being trapped in your house for a while and feeling like, you've put on those pandemic pounds. But a lot of people, the first thing they actually feel is more energy. So along with that kind of feeling, being heavier, a lot of times you feel more lethargic. So, yeah.
Do you coach people one-on-one in small groups or maybe both?
So the Reset Cleanse is my group experience right now. And then I do coach people one-on-one. And I have a number of individual clients, and I take them through a 90-day system where they can set their goals. So, everyone's different. Some people definitely are in that weight loss category, but other people want to start cooking more. They just want more energy. They want to sleep better. So depending on their individual goals, I take them through a program to get them where they want to go.
Nice. Is that lentil loaf going to be your lunch, your dinner, or today's dinner, tomorrow's lunch?
So I already had lunch because it's 2:00 here. So this will be dinner. I just need to throw on a few. I'm going to roast some carrots and figure out I have some more brown rice, so I may throw that on the side. Make some vegan gravy to go over top, and we'll be good to go.
Sounds great. Do you know yet well, it's a long time away, but I think that something like that would be nice for Thanksgiving even.
That's true. I did make a loaf for Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, probably 5 now, time flies. But it would make a great Thanksgiving main course. And it's funny, actually, in my family, I didn't tell you about the latest domino to fall in my family. But my mother transitioned to a vegan diet about a year ago. It's almost coming up on her year anniversary. She's in her, late 70s and decided to make that switch. And I don't think that would have happened if my brother and I hadn't already done this. And so our Thanksgiving 2 years ago was almost all plant-based. And this Thanksgiving, when we get together, is definitely going to be like 100% plant-based spread. And then maybe a little something for those couple of outliers. The meat eaters are the outliers now in our family. So that's kind of
that. Well, tell your mom. Tell your mom I think she's awesome. That is amazing. It just shows it's never too late.
Yep. I will.
Here's a question I just saw from Dina. Can I substitute red or green lentils for the black lentils that you used?
I don't think I would substitute red because they lose their shape so much, but I would say you could do green or brown because they tend to hold their shape, or, like the French green lentils or brown lentils. Yeah. But I wouldn't overcook them.
Right. Red cooks so much quicker.
Yeah.
Kathleen asks, do you ever use a flax egg instead of energy egg replacer?
So I just veganized this. So I only did it with the energizer replacer. So I do want to test out whether or not a flax egg would work.
Great. And so Monarch says, is plant-based processed food like imitation burgers allowed on your cleanse?
So everyone is in charge of their own cleanse. I will not be in people's kitchens telling them yes or no to things, but ideally you would not have any processed food. So we're talking fruit, straight from the vine or the tree. We're talking vegetables in their natural form. We're talking intact whole grains. So that would be like brown rice, quinoa, millet, farro, all those cool whole grains. And we're talking legumes. So we're trying to really just focus on fresh food in its most natural form.
It's how I think everybody should eat all the time, personally.
Yeah.
Kind of how our ancestors ate. Our grandparents kind of ate that way too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's funny that our grandparents or great grandparents wouldn't recognize some of the stuff in stores today. They'd be like, "What is that?"
Exactly. Where do you like people to connect with you mostly on which social media platform? I know we put them all in the show notes, but usually people have like one, like I love YouTube the most.
Right. I love Instagram and Facebook the most. And I actually have a Facebook group it's called Healthy Lifestyle Parents, where I go in every day and talk to people and encourage them on getting healthy. So that's, I have a Rooted Dish Facebook page and a Rooted Dish Instagram, but then I also have a Facebook group for Healthy Lifestyle Parents. Those are my main ones.
That is fantastic. Well, this has been wonderful getting to know you. I wish you good luck with all your upcoming classes. Thank you so much for being vegan and inspiring other people to do the same.
Thank you.
Do you like balsamic vinegar?
I do like balsamic vinegar.
Well, I'm glad, because you're going to get 2 free bottles of California balsamic in the flavor of your choice just for being on the show. So thank you so much, Thomas Allen, for sponsoring the show. And if you've never tried that brand, they're really,
I'm
really
a board
good.
certified family medicine.
You know what you could
physician,
even
and
do
I'm
is you
also
could
certified
probably
plant-based
put it
food.
as I don't know where that's.
Welcome to myplantbasedprogram.com.
Something's playing
Whatever
on my
your goal,
computer. And you
whether
know what's
it's-
funny? It just started randomly. It was Dr.
Right.
Campbell, which I got to have him on the show. What I was saying is, what I was thinking is I would consider even maybe making a glaze for the top of the loaf with balsamic vinegar.
Ooh, that's delicious. I think I'm going to try that. I'll let you know how it turns out.
and maybe one of the flavors, I think you'll get to choose whatever flavor you want, but the hickory smoked, I think, would make a really nice glaze.
Oh, yes. I want to share one more thing. So Chef AJ, I think I heard you on the Rich Roll show when I was a baby vegan, and you inspired me so much that I got your book, Unprocessed, and I was like,
That is so kind. Thank you. We're coming up with a 10th anniversary edition. A publisher bought the rights to it, and it's going to have photos and updated recipes, because I was using a lot of fat back then. I just didn't know what I know now about calorie density. But thank you so much. That's so nice that you know who I am.
yes, absolutely.
That's so funny. Doesn't always the case. I remember I was speaking once at the Oakland Veg Fest, and somebody raised their hand in the middle of the talk. They go, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "You didn't check the schedule before you came in." But in case you're tuning in, I'm Chef AJ. So thanks so much. People are saying, like, Nancy, I'm excited to try this lentil loaf. It looks like a fantastic recipe.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Granetta. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. If you want another delicious recipe, come back tomorrow when I have Ivelisse Capo. She is a plant-based pharmacist. Take care, Granetta. Be well.
Bye, guys.